What's going on, guys? I'm back here with another video. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, whenever you're watching this video. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter video. I did want to put this video out because it greatly affects people coming into the industry, wanting to get their CDL permit. It's regarding, and this video is about the ELDT program, or the entry-level driving training program. Federal mandates coming on February 7th of 2022. So just in a few weeks here, we have some major changes taking place. I got some notes here, and I wanted to go over it as much as I can. Here I did some research there, so you wouldn't have to. But of course, if you did want a reference guide, I have the website that's going to be in the description where you can go to and fact check yourself and go over everything just to make sure you got a full understanding. But I'm going to try to go into it deep so you do, and explain everything else. Explain everything for you so you fully understand. So on February 7th of 2022, the entry-level driving training program is going to go into effect. What it's seeking to do, or what the federal government is pretty much seeking to do, is regulate the curriculum and the training that all new drivers, new people that are wanting to get their CDL license and permit, they want to regulate that training that you get before you actually get your CDL license. So come February 7th, there's going to be pretty much a new curriculum. There's going to be a pretty much a set way. There's going to be some minor differences, just like with a lot of things. You know, the federal government says one thing, which is pretty much a guideline that states have to fit within, but then states have some authority. And so there might be, just as it is now, some changes across the board, depending on what state you're in. But depending on what school you're going to, those changes might not, affect you greatly. So, so on February 7th, 2022, the federal government is going to mandate that all schools become all accredited schools become a part of the National Register. And that the federal government has a National Register currently, like it's out there. A lot of the big name schools, Schneider is one of them. Prime, I believe, is one of them. Driving Academy, I believe, is one of them. They're on the register right now. So they've been, in effect, doing this for a while, training you for a while according to the government standards, because they also can test on their field. Schneider can test on, they have a testing facility here where you can go to school with them and they'll test you at the same facility. So they've been meeting guidelines for a while now. And I'm not sponsored by them, by the way. I'm just telling you from experience. But yeah, so it's mandating that all schools be accredited that you go to. So you get your CDL permit, right? You take the knowledge portion. And as you know, with the CDL permit, you take the knowledge portions, knowledge test, your whether it be, your hazardous or, your tanker endorsements, whatever endorsements that you want beyond the Class A, but you go to the DMV is what we call it here, and you go take your test and you get your permit. Then you go to your training. As it stands now, you go, you get your permit, you go to training, whether that, that might be a school, that might be your pops, that might be your uncle, that might be your friend, that just takes you and pretty much shows you what you need to know to get the test. Like, they teach you towards the test. And I think that's what they want to stop happening. They don't want you to just know what you need to know to pass the test. They actually want you to know how to drive a truck and how to drive it safely. And I think that's one of the more benefits of it. You're not going to have people, coming into the industry that don't know certain things that they really need to know. Like, there's a lot that you really need to know beyond just, the test, which is just the road test, the backing, 3 maneuvers of backing, and the pre-trip. That's just pointing out things that have and what are their defects, backing 3 different ways, which is challenging, but you can be, done enough times or practice enough times, you can get that down pat. And then the road trip, you can fake it. You can fake it till you make it in that scenario. They don't want that happening. And there's a lot of run-of-the-mill driving schools out there. And of course, a lot of people going along with their, family members or friends who are teaching them. And I'm not saying that they're teaching them wrong, because there's a lot of people that are doing it right. There's a lot of, family members or friends that, that you may go to that, are teaching you the correct way. Not only teach you towards the test, but are really teaching you the correct way. What the federal government is looking to do, I know a lot of people are like, oh man, federal government or whatever, but what it's looking to do, I'm just telling you what the system is looking to do, is kind of like make it standard. Just pretty much make it standard across the board. You don't have to guess what type of training that person that's driving alongside you with 80,000 pounds of force behind them, or at their beck and call. You don't have to worry about the type of training they had. Like, if they're a newer driver, then you'll know that they had standardized drivers, or standardized driving training. So that's what the mandate is looking to do. It's looking to have every school accredited. You would have to go to these schools to get your license, right? You would have to go to these accredited schools, go through a curriculum, and get your license. So going down the line here, everyone that wants to get a CDL license has to go to a registered accredited training program. That's what I just mentioned. That program is going to have a curriculum. They're going to test you. They call it theory instruction. If you go to the website in the description, you'll see where it says theory instruction, meaning it's classroom instruction. You're going to have to take pretty much classroom instruction before you actually do your road tests and your drive backing tests and your pre-trip inspection, to actually get your CDL license. They're going to test you. You're going to have to make a minimum score of 80% on those tests that they give you. So I remember now in the Schneider program, we had to actually take tests. It's set up as a 5-week program. I'm not sure if it will go longer come this February 7th and after, but I know now, I remember we were actually taking tests in class. Like, we were taking driving tests, we were taking tests in class. Might be more of that, but you will, after February 7th, definitely have to take some actual theory courses explaining, the driving requirements that are listed out. And it's going to be going back to school again, essentially. Like, it's, and there's no minimum. One thing I do want to point out is that, because I would know the next question is there a minimum? Like, do you have to take, is it 60 hours of classroom? Is it 60 hours of behind the wheel training? No, there's no minimum. So if you're smart, if you catch on quick, if you are proving yourself, if the scores are there, if you really dedicating yourself, there's no minimum requirement. So as soon as you pass, as soon as you get everything done, you get the coursework out, you get the behind the wheel skills out, and you're able to get the scores that are required, then you can go on to complete your driving license testing under that school, or go to your DMV, what have you. But there's no minimum amount of time that you have to spend in the training infrastructure or the training curriculum. There's no minimum amount of time for behind the wheel training as well. Before you go on your road test, you have to be certified by the provider that you have met the requirements up to that point. That's what I was just explaining. You have to be certified by the provider that you go to, by the school that you go to. The school has to take responsibility and say, I taught that person took that information that I taught them, and they went and they met the requirements. They passed the theory instruction. They're good behind the wheel skills are adequate, and they're ready to go now to go test for their license. They're ready to now go for the road test. And that's the responsibility that the federal government is putting now on the school. So what does that mean, right? Now that there's a curriculum, right, test, it means that there's going to be, for some schools, for Schneider, I don't believe there's going to be that much more work because, like I said, some of this is already implemented. But for some schools, it's going to be a lot more work. That's going to mean higher prices, and it might mean it's pretty likely it's going to mean longer periods of time it's going to take you to get your CDL license. Whereas before, some people were getting it within a week, a couple of days, because they were being tested, they were being prepared or taught towards the test instead of teaching everything, so it might take longer. And I know a lot of people out there, and that's the reason they didn't go to school, because they didn't want to wait. They wanted to get on the road as soon as possible. I understand. That's just natural. You want to begin making money. That's just natural. But now you're going, there's no option. Well, there is an option, and I'm going to get to that later. But after February 7th, you're not going to have any option. You're going to have to go to an accredited program, and you're going to have to pass their instruction test and everything before you even go on the driving test. It might mean higher prices. I guarantee your prices are going to go up. The average price is going to go up for you to go to school, because there's a curriculum now that they have to abide by. There's federal requirements, and I'm not just talking about just the curriculum itself. That's just paperwork, right? That's just guidelines. I'm talking about the facilities have to be there's federally mandated facilities that has to be there before it's accredited program. There's federally mandated vehicles. Like, the vehicles have to meet requirements. The facilities have to meet requirements. All of this mean that they have to put money in the program if it's not already being implemented. So that's why prices are going to go up come February 7th. And it might mean, going to trickle down. It might mean it would take longer for you to get your CDL license because classes are taking longer. Right now, I have bigger classes in my Schneider program, and it's taken a while for me to get my license. No complaints, because I'm before February 7th, so I don't know how it's going to affect after that. Like I said, don't see it happening too much with this program, since Schneider has been implementing a lot of this beforehand, but you might see a longer wait time across the board because of these implementations that have to go into effect after February 7th. With that being said, the time that you have now is January 15th, the morning of that I'm recording this. You have essentially 3 weeks, a little bit over, but 3 weeks. If you get your CDL permit before February 7th, you are excluded from all of this. You don't have to go, you're excluded. You don't have to do any of this extra stuff. It can remain the same. You're excluded. So what I would suggest for you now, go, if you're teeter-tottering whether you want to go into the industry, study for the knowledge test, go get your CDL permit with its endorsements as well, and go get at least your CDL permit. Now that gives you, I think, a year to 6 months. It depends on the state. That's when that license, that CDL permit expires. That gives you that much time to at least decide whether you really want to go to a school or really want to get your CDL license. But that would at least alleviate a lot of headache. So if you're teeter-tottering, do I want to go get my CDL? Do I not want to go get my CDL? At least go get your CDL permit so you have a better option down the road and it's not harder for you. Because I will admit, it's going to be a little bit more difficult come February 7th and after to get your CDL license. I think for the better, to be honest with you, but it will be a little bit more difficult, a little bit more expensive if you're paying for it out of pocket. But for the school, it's definitely going to be a little bit more expensive, the implementation. I'm sorry I said this was a shorter video, but I did want to get everything in there. So like I said, if you're teeter-tottering, go now. Get your CDL permit. It's not going to hurt. Go afterwards, after February 7th, look for the prices to go up. Look for the time to get your CDL license to lengthen as well. And if you have any questions, any comments, of course, please drop them down below. I'll be more than happy to help you out. Like I said, I'm going to put the website in the description so you can go over it and really check back. And if you want to, reference, you can go to that website as well. But as always, guys, I'm only here to help. Until next time, peace. All right, guys, I wanted to put this in before I ended the video. It's kind of like a question and answer, or frequently asked questions part that I thought I saw on the internet, and I thought that would be helpful if I included it, because you guys, these are some frequently asked questions, so it might be running through your mind. And just like I said, I just want to summarize this for you all. So the ELDT program does have exceptions. I did mention before, if you got your CDL already, then you wouldn't have to do this. There are other exceptions too, so I'm going to be a little bit more specific. So individuals applying under subsection 383.3 C, D, or H, all this is going to be in the description of the video, so you can go back and review. Individuals also applying for restricted CDL under subsection 383.3 E through G, military personnel who meet all requirements and conditions of subsection 383.77, or individuals applying for removal of a restriction in accordance with 383.135B7. Okay, some other questions, right? And like I said, this doesn't apply if you already have your CDL license, but it says, I hold a CDL that was issued before February 7th, 2022. What if I apply for an upgrade to a higher class of CDL on or after February 7th, 2022? So you're applying for some kind of upgrade. If you're a Class B and you're applying for a Class A, so that would be like an upgrade, right? So you're going from a Class B to a Class A. It says you must complete the required entry-level driving training for the class of CDL to which you are upgrading before you will be permitted to take the CDL skills test. So if you're a Class B, upgrade to a Class A, then you would have to follow the new rules of the ELDT program there in order to do that. So if you're wanting to do that, if you're wanting to go from a Class B to a Class A, like I said, go ahead and take the knowledge test, get your CDL A permit, and go ahead and get that knocked out before February 7th, 2022. Here it says, my commercial learner's permit, a CLP, was issued before February 7th, 2022. You are not required to complete entry-level driving training as long as you obtain a CDL before the CLP, the commercial learner's permit, or renewed CLP expires. And I believe you can only renew your CLP once. I believe that's standard throughout the state. I might be wrong, but the length of time of the CLP I know differs depending on the state. But it's saying that if you have your CLP, as long as it was issued before February 7th, 2022, and it hasn't expired, then you're good to go with the old rules. As long as it doesn't expire before you get your CDL. Before you get your CDL, you also got to keep that in mind. So if you got it and say it expires on February, 9th, and you go to school on February 1st, right, with your CDL permit or commercial learner permit, then more than likely you're not going to get, well, I don't know. You might be able to get a CDL license in 8 days. Keep that in mind as well. Save enough time for you to actually get your CDL license. So, all right. Next question. I hold a CDL that was issued before February 7th, 2022. What if I apply for an S, P, or H endorsement for the first time on or after February 7th, 2022? I know H is hazmat, P and S. Let me see. P and S, you guys are going to have to help me out. Put it in the comments. I don't know what an S and P is, but I know an H is hazmat endorsement. But the general purpose of the question, or the point of the question, is saying that they have a CDL before that they have a CDL license that they got before February 7, 2022, but they're trying to get an additional endorsement after February 7, 2022. What should I do? They're saying you must complete the required entry-level driving training program for the endorsements for which you're applying before you will be permitted to take the S or P skills test or H knowledge test. Now, the hazmat is just a knowledge test. That's why I would definitely recommend doing that. But it's along with that knowledge test, you have to take the same steps as if you were applying. If anybody flies a lot, or travels a lot on the plane, and they've ever applied to pre-check, like TSA pre-check, it's the same thing. You have to go to an interview, got to get your fingerprints and everything, because you're driving around hazardous materials, and they want to get you checked out. So you got to do that, and then you just take a knowledge test, and that's it for the hazmat. So keep that in mind. But it's saying if you got a CDL license, this is very important. If you got a CDL license, but you want to get additional endorsements after February 7, 2022, although you have your CDL license, to get those new endorsements, you still have to follow the rules and go to the additional training under the new ELDT program there. So keep that in mind. Next question. What if I attain my commercial learner's permit after February 7th, 2022? Well, we already discussed this, but it says here you must complete the required entry-level driving training before you will be permitted to take the CDL skills test, the SRP skills test, or the H knowledge test, which we just discussed was the additional endorsements if you wanted to do that. I was issued the CDL before February 7th, 2022, right? We discussed this already as well. You are not required to complete anything under the new ELDT program, even if previously issued CDL has since lapsed. Now, this is important, right? So with the commercial learner's permit, if it's lapsed before February 7, 2022, then or after February 7, 2022, you haven't had your CDL license, then you need to go get your CDL license under the new ELDT program. But if you have your CDL license and it's expired and you need to get it renewed, you do not have to go through the whole process of the follow the classroom instructions, all that under the new ELDT program. You just have to get it renewed and pay whatever, and then take what additional tests. I think it's like, you gotta take a vision test or maybe a physical, and then pay the necessary fees to get it. But you do not have to do all the classroom instructions and things associated with the new ELDT program. So that's a very important, very good thing as well. I was issued the SPRH endorsement before February 7th, right? We just discussed this. You are not required to complete anything under the ELDT program for the previously issued endorsement, even if it has since lapsed. Very important again. So this is it's becoming more and more streamlined, right? So if you have the SP or an H endorsement and it has lapsed as well, as long as you got it before, if you got the endorsement before February 7, 2022, even when you renew it, you don't have to go get it again under the ELDT program. You can get it under the normal circumstances. So that's very, very good. Last question here. I was issued a CLP, Commercial Learner's Permit, before February 7, 2022, but the CLP expired before I applied for my CDL. well, went over this somewhat before. You must complete the required ELDT training program before you will be permitted to take the CDL skills test. If you get your CLP, your commercial learner permit, you have to get your before February 7th in order to prevent going through the new program. Make sure you have enough time, whatever program you choose or whatever school or however you decide to get your CDL license, make sure you have enough time to do that. If that CDL expires and you go to the DMV to get a new one, or even get it renewed, you can't get it renewed as well. Because remember, the previous question we asked before was, it stated you have to, even if you got your CLP renewed, it has to be renewed before February 7th, 2022 in order to avoid having to go under the new ELDT program to get your CDL license. So make sure your permit does not expire while you're in the process of getting your CDL license. I just wanted to go through these questions here. Once again, you can find these questions and answers and exceptions in the link below, tpr.fmcsa.gov there, and that's going to be in the description below. You guys could take a look at it. I just wanted to give a summary for you and make sure I go over everything for you guys. Peace.